guys, I have got another book review for you today. It's this one. It's Creative Girl. It's Creative Girl, Mixed Media Techniques for an Artful Life, and it's by Danielle Donaldson. And I'll pop a link below to Amazon so you can go check it out if you wanted to. Yeah, so I thought I'd do, last month, if you remember, I said that I'd been on a shopping spree with an Amazon voucher and bought three. I don't know why I need to count, you know how to count. 3 books, and this is one of them, although I have to admit I bought the wrong book. This is a lovely book, but it's not the book I originally intended to buy. But sometimes, you know, I was going to send it back because I was like, no, I bought the wrong one. That's not the one I wanted. But then I thought, no, let keep it. It was a gift. You know, the money was a gift. Keep it. It might surprise you and you might really enjoy it. So, yes, I kept it. And I did enjoy it. Now, I'm not massively familiar with Danielle Donaldson's work. She's not an artist I follow or anything. So, yeah, it was quite interesting for me to get this book and have a flick through. So she mainly uses, although it says mixed media techniques, she mainly uses watercolour. So it's actually quite complementary to the book review I did last month on the Paint Yourself Calm, because that was also watercolour. And yeah, so I actually think that those two, if you're interested in getting a couple of watercolour books, I think those two would kind of complement each other quite well, because at the beginning of the book she goes through some like different techniques to get you started with watercolour. So if you're a beginner with watercolour, then it's a really good idea. So she does some like different swatches and things to get you to swatch out your watercolour and use different colours and see how they mix together, see what colours they make when they mix, that kind of thing. And then she goes on to using a single colour and then just using different techniques on it, like, you know, adding splashes of water, adding salt, soaking up parts of the colour, that kind of thing. So it's like a swatch that shows you all the different techniques that you can do with watercolour, but all in one, which is actually, if you're a beginner for watercolour, is actually a really good idea, because having that swatch to hand so that you can like reference it is a really good idea, because then you can think, right, okay, what look am I going for here, what do I want to achieve, and then you could reference your swatch and go like, oh yeah, I think adding salt to the watercolour would look really good on this piece. So I really like that. And one of the interesting things is she talks about making mud and blending her colours, which is something like we're always told, like on a lot of courses and things, that like you know, don't let certain colour, like with the colour wheel theory, you know, don't let certain colours mix because then you'll make mud. But she's sort of saying that she quite likes the element of mud and that it adds a little bit of interest, and that you kind of transition from colour to colour, but she pulls it off really well, really well. I probably wouldn't be able to pull off that nearly half as well, if I'm perfectly honest. But you know, it's her thing, you know, it's what she does on a regular basis, so she's perfected it. So then it's got like some step-by-step guides on doing more, you know, adding the salt, as I said, and finishing it off. And she goes through, this is where the mixed media bit comes in, she goes through other bits and pieces like adding scrapbook paper and sewing and things like that. Now, this kind of work isn't really my thing. It doesn't really appeal to me. I'm a bit like, I don't really care for it as on my personal thing. I don't care for it. I can appreciate the work that's gone into it, but it doesn't really float to my boat. But then you turn the page and I'm like, wow, I really like that. And she talks about layering watercolours, because obviously watercolour, well, obviously if you don't know, if you never use watercolour when it dries turns out to be a lot, oh, I've just seen a cobweb, oh, that's bad. Watercolour when it dries leaves, goes quite pale, quite pastel, a lot less vibrant when it dries than when it was wet. So, and everybody knows, like particularly when you're a beginner, that you can add more and more and more to your watercolour to kind of like build up that intensity and get more of a richer colour. I know what I want to say. And she uses like paper and stuff as well, but yeah, she talks about layering up your colours and, you know, taking it all further. What I liked on this book, I'm just trying to find it, she's got various different techniques, and she uses her sewing machine and adds like sewing to it and things. I liked the white on brown craft, like the wood, because I do like to do that a lot myself. But then she gets into some different techniques and things using watercolour, things that that was quite inspiring, that I enjoyed looking at those. I enjoyed looking at all the imagery, and just looking at something different, something that I wouldn't normally look at. And she talks about, like, this is kind of like, she like keeps things, what should I say, like, I find like the artwork in here is kind of like quite clean, quite clean and fresh. And so if you quite like a clean and fresh look, then definitely this is for you. But like, you know, she looks at the shading there, but, you know, keeping it minimalist. I just think that is beautiful, just very clean and crisp and bright, and I think that is really, really beautiful. With a little bit of pencil and a little bit of watercolour for some shading, I think it's absolutely stunning. But what I like is her little doodle aspect. So she goes on to talk about adding put her own spin on the watercolour art and kind of adding some doodles and things. And it's the doodles that I really, really enjoyed looking at. So yeah, if you're book lovers, I do this. I leave my books around the place on the coffee table because I believe they're supposed to be used and referenced. So yeah, this I really like. So my fingers are inky because I've been painting, and I usually end up doing a sit down talky video whilst I'm waiting for paint to dry. Yeah, so like I really like her little doodles there, her little watercolour splotches, and then those random little flower doodles. I really, really like that, and I don't think I doodle as much as perhaps I should do. Like, I don't doodle as much in my like proper art. Finished pieces, I don't have a lot of doodling in, so that has kind of encouraged me to do more doodling. There's a little paragraph in here that I thought I'd read you because I really like what she says. She says, "I am a storyteller. I love to tell my stories with pictures. The kind of pictures that you have to stare at for a long time, the kind that you might never find without me pointing you in the right direction. They are there, embedded in the layers of my art. I hide the words in nooks and crannies and cover them with layers and layers of questions and sometimes answers. I sprinkle them with secrets, hopes and fears, nestled in the shadows and highlights." And I thought that was a really, really nice paragraph, so I just wanted to share that with you. Yeah, so she goes on to sort of doing a few other things like trees and kind of stuff, but it's her girls that and some sewing, but sewing's not really my thing. But the creative girls, she goes on to do her girls, and that's her girls style, and that's probably what I liked the most out of this book was her girls. And I thought I would have a go at this more. I thought I would have a little go myself and you know, try and do them, but I liked her technique for doing the frothy dresses, kind of like you see in a fashion style, you know, like fashion illustration and things. And I really liked that, how that kind of turns out. It's not like my style because I've never done anything like that before, and I think that's kind of nice when you perhaps find a book that's not your style and you can use, like, you know, you can try some of the techniques and try something new. Like, this is more my style, this kind of girl here, that's probably more me, rather than those like frothy head girls, if you see what I mean. But yeah, so I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to show you. No, I like that one. I like that. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a really nice read, and it was kind of like, it intensive or anything. I think it'd be a really, really good book if you want to get into watercolour, and you're not really sure what kind of watercolours you want to do, whether you want to do kind of like trees and things or people or whatever, or abstracts. I think this would be quite a nice little start, to be honest with you. There's a lot here. If you're used to working with watercolours, there's probably a lot in here that you perhaps you already know already, like how to blend and how to do some of the techniques. You probably know that already, so if you're quite an advanced watercolour user, it's probably not for you. That being said, it's quite nice to look at the imagery, and I think it might spark something in you. Like for me, it was like those kind of adding those little doodles and those frothy dresses. So I'm used to working with watercolour, but it's those kind of things that kind of like inspire you in someone. I'm like, oh yeah, I might do that and take that forward in my art. So yeah, on the whole, I do really recommend the book, but definitely more so if you're beginning, because there's lots of techniques and things on there, and she shows you how to kind of recreate. She breaks it down into step by step to recreate it. Again, I probably wouldn't buy it if I saw it in the shop, because it's not 100% my sort of style, and I know a lot about watercolour, but a nice happy little accident, so I'm glad I bought it and kept it. So there we go. I will probably, like I did with the Paint It Calm book, I shall probably recreate something from here and video it for you guys so you can see. And then next month I'll be back with my last book review. Yeah, that'll be my last for a while, I should imagine, unless I suddenly get sent a book to review, or I've got some money to buy another one, or given a present of a book. Christmas is a long way off though, so yeah, I'm hoping maybe I'll get one from Father Christmas or something. So yeah, and then that'll be the last book review for a little while. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you've got this book and what you think and all that kind of razzmatazz. Take care guys, bye.